Well, hello there, fearless midlife trailblazers. Welcome to Create the Best Me. If you are new here, I am so glad you made it here. If you're a returning listener, welcome back to the one and only place where we encourage and empower women to pursue their dreams and live life to the fullest. I am your host, Carmen Hecox, and now get ready for a sonic journey of wonder. Today's guest, Kiki Tyler, isn't just any Reiki master, teacher, or sound healer. She is the maestro of mystical melodies, the siren of sonic landscapes, and the guru of good vibes. Ever thought about weaving energy with music? Well, Kiki's mastered that art, creating soundscapes that are not just pleasing to the ears, but healing for the soul. Her intuitive tunes and techniques create a space, no, a sanctuary for healing, balance, and discovering the you that's been waiting to sing out loud. Whether you're looking to release that pent-up tension from last week's chaos, find your inner zen, or just groove to the harmony of life, Kiki's your gal. So buckle up, lovely trailblazers, as we dive deep into the universe of sound with the fabulous Kiki Tyler. Kiki Tyler, welcome to Create the Best Me. I am so ecstatic to have you on the show.
Oh, I'm excited to be here, Carmen. Thanks for having me.
So, Kiki, can you briefly introduce yourself to the audience and share how you embarked in your journey of becoming a Reiki master and sound healer?
Yes. So Kiki Tyler, Reiki master teacher, sound healer, and really spiritual guide. I feel like I'm a mentor at this point to those who started out where I did and stumbled upon it. 2020, the great unplugging. I had a very dear friend of mine who passed to stage 4 lung cancer out of the blue. So I was dealing with a lot of grief and was introduced to both Reiki and sound. And that was the catalyst that started me on my spiritual journey and my spiritual path.
Many people are unfamiliar with Reiki and sound healing. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I'll start with Reiki. It is the use of universal life force energy. So we all can tap into it. And those that go through trainings are actually attuned to it. So think of it as a channel. And each time you get an attunement, your channel opens wider and you're able to experience more power coming to and through you. So as the healer, I'm like the faucet, not the water. So you as a client would actually control the healing session. Many people come to me, they want to relax. They want to de-stress. They want to sleep better. Perhaps they're having body aches and pains, and traditional means have not given them the relief that they seek. So this is a great combination. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying don't do what doctors are prescribing, but it tends to amplify the healing effects of what you're already doing. So it's a really nice complement. And most people fall asleep when they're on the table or if we're doing things virtually, and they just get that space and time that they wouldn't normally give themselves, is what I found. And sound healing, you're actually using different frequencies, different vibrations that are attuned to certain areas and regions of your body to help you relax and release. So dis-ease is a lot of times trapped in tissues. We can suppress emotions, whether consciously or subconsciously. And talk therapy is great. I've done it. It's a world of good. Sometimes you don't want to go back to those places. You don't want to relive the trauma. And with Reiki and sound healing, you can still experience that beautiful release, but don't have to talk about it and don't need to go back quite to where it was emotionally charged.
So let's go back a little bit. So you said that you lost a loved one in 2020 due to cancer.
Yes.
And that's when you learned about Reiki or were exposed to Reiki?
Yes. So she had passed and we weren't able to have the traditional funeral, couldn't get together, all the mandates. Didn't realize I was in denial. Like I hadn't really grieved. I hadn't, let the tears flow and have that sense of release. I was able to go to a women's wellness retreat. We were all spread out. It was very safe. It was outdoor yoga and things like that. We had just finished a sunrise yoga session. We're all in Savasana on our mats. And there were Reiki practitioners that had asked if we wanted Reiki at the end. So they're walking around giving Reiki. And I didn't know my eyes were closed, but I started crying, like the tears just started flowing. And I just felt like the emotions were being lifted and pulled out of my body. And I was feeling lighter and lighter. And after everything concluded, I talked to the Reiki practitioner, and she had felt my tears. It was like she got the wave of emotion, and she just stayed over me for a while, knowing that I needed that healing and that release. So throughout that weekend, I spent time learning and asking questions like, what did I just experience? And then there was a sound practitioner there as well who had tuning forks. She was offering many chakra alignments. And at that time, I didn't know what a chakra was. I'm like, it sounds good. I'm here. Let's try it. And I didn't tell her, but going in, I had a really bad headache. I was dehydrated from all the tears being shed, and my low back was hurting me. It was a 5-6 hour drive to get to this ranch where the retreat was held. So she hands me, intuitively selects the tuning forks that my body was calling for. And as she's playing them, my headache starts to disappear. My low back pain is gone. And it did not come back. It's not like it was gone for an hour or it was gone until the next day. It was gone. It had left my body. So I wanted to learn everything I could about what just happened to me. It was fascinating. It was magic, and it went deeper than that. So coming back to reality, I signed up and took my Reiki 1 certification, which is all about self-healing. And that was my intention. I knew there was more work to be done. I had just opened the door a crack to this new world of healing, and also started learning all I could about sound and frequency. And there's a sound bath, which is beautiful, and you go and you can relax and enjoy. And I focus more on sound healing. So the intention going into that is for that specific release. Whether the client shares it with me or it's in her head or she writes it down, she gets what she needs.
So you were totally unaware of what these modalities were.
Yes.
But you experienced them firsthand, the lightness, the feeling of release, the release that you couldn't process. And I say process because your friend passed away. You said, okay, she's not here anymore. But in reality, you really mentally, spiritually hadn't really processed that. And so through this Reiki session that you had at this retreat, you were able to begin to chip away and feel like you were healing, like you were really, truly letting go of the heartache.
Yes, the pain that was around it, where I couldn't think of her or see pictures of her without it being in this like visceral reaction of pain and grief. It was starting to lift away.
And so how does Reiki work? I mean, because if I go see a counselor, we sit there, we talk about issues that might hurt or things that I might need help processing. How does it work?
It's unique to each person. So sometimes people come to me and they just are curious. They want to know what it's like, or they just know something's off and they just want to feel better. So it could be, I call that general healing. So I go in and scan and ask their higher self and their guides to guide me with the session. And as the client, you're guiding the energy. So if you're skeptical of it, or if you're not ready, or if you don't want it, it will not flow. So the client is in 100% control of where the energy flows and for how long. And you could do that on a subconscious or a conscious level. And some people come to me with very specific ailments, whether it's emotional, career, finance, relationship. They might say things like, I know something's holding me back. I can't figure out what it is. And it could be something from their past life. It could be something from an inner child wound that may need healing or attention. And it's up to the person. I never pry or press. It's up to them what they want to share. And they don't have to share for them to still receive the healing. So it can be very personal and vulnerable, but it doesn't have to be.
And so if I came to you virtually like this, like we're meeting right now, would we be having a discussion, or would I be laying down on the floor or on my bed? How does the exchange of energy take place?
It's a great question. And I've done it a few different ways. Most recently, I do like to hop on Zoom, have a brief discussion prior to going in, guide you in with several deep breaths, and then you can turn your camera off and lay down. And then I'll bring you back to your body at the end, and we'll share what we each experienced on either of our ends. Sometimes there'll be similarities. Sometimes people will fall asleep and they'll be snoring on the other end, which is still like awesome. That's what they did in that moment. But there's still healing being done on the energetic body as well. And it deals with physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. It does span time and space. So I can send it to you without being on Zoom and we can chat. I've had people that didn't want to get on Zoom and I would just voice note them or type up the notes and share with them. And then each client's different. So sometimes I'll set up a crystal grid. Some will want me to play the sound bowls at the end as part of the session for healing. I also have oracle cards. So if they're seeking a little bit more, or if they have a question, I tell them not to share it with me and I'll intuitively pick for them, share the card and the guidance. And that message is for them to interpret because they already have the answers inside of them.
So it's just a matter of we all have something, but we just haven't figured out how to get connected with it.
Or we lost the connection, or it's been quiet and asleep. I feel like as children, we're very much tapped into what feels good to us. And we have that inner knowing of, yes, I'm going to go outside and play, or I'm going to go, color, or I'm going to go sit by myself and play with whatever it is. And then as we progress and become adults and go to college, we kind of forget those things. And then people pleasing can set in, hard to set boundaries. And I work with a lot of women, my clients, high achieving. They have their 9 to 5. They're running a busy household. They're running to and fro with the kids and all the after school activities or sports on the weekend. And their cup is empty or near empty on a regular basis. They're giving so much of themselves. So this is my opportunity to give to them and help refill their cup so they feel full.
Yeah, because I know that as a woman, like you explained, we're always giving and giving. And it's almost like we're running on autopilot. Everything's getting done, but there's that disconnect. And for a woman in midlife, sometimes it's hard to figure out where that disconnect comes from. Is it that I'm not happy, but I should be happy because everything's perfect? The family's good. My marriage is good. I have a good job. Everything is in alignment, but there's that disconnect. And so as a woman, we may not know what those answers are. How does working with you, how do they develop answers for that disconnect?
What I see on the client side is they start to build this trust with themselves. And they start to reconnect to the parts of themselves that, like you mentioned, we are in autopilot and we're almost numb, right? We're kind of going through, we show up at the soccer game for the kids and we're like, I don't remember driving here, because you're just so used to doing it, right? It's almost like a meditative state. And being more intentional and just giving a different perspective. Sometimes I can see huge shifts just in one session, just thinking a different way, or hearing from someone who's not emotionally attached to you in any sphere of your ecosystem, right? It's not a loved one. It's not a family member. It's not a girlfriend. Like, I'm on the outside of all that. So I don't have any bias. I don't have any preconceived notions. You are my priority, no one else. And I think that's really important because as women, we do that to others, but rarely do that to ourselves. And there's guilt and shame come up a lot. I feel people feel guilty for spending an hour or 90 minutes with me, or there's shame. I should be doing something for the house, or for the kids, or for work, etc. And taking care of yourself is just as important. And I've seen when people start to do that, shifts start to happen in every other area of their life. Relationships get better. Finances get better. Career gets better. Girlfriends, family members, people mend fences with relationships that they thought were on the outs. So whatever people are looking to heal happens because they're now putting their attention on it where they weren't before.
Where does the practice of Reiki come from?
It's over 100 years old, and it was developed by a man in Japan. And he was working in a healing space and saw that there was this void, and modern medicine wasn't enough by itself. And he created this philosophy. Usui Reiki is the traditional, which I am trained in. And there are also several different branches of Reiki that have different modalities. So one of them that I love and I'm drawn to is called the Celtic Reiki, which taps into the power of nature and trees, which are all around us. And there's a lot of scientific evidence that goes into grounding, or I think they're calling it earthing, where getting your feet in the ground changes the frequency in your body, and it creates dopamine and that happy feeling. Spending time in nature without your earbuds in, blasting music, like really listening to the birds and animals and the wind and what's around you is very calming and peaceful. We're surrounded by so much technology, some out of necessity, some out of boredom, to sit there and can doom scroll a bit, but that can help fights against our central nervous system. So we're in that fight, flight, freeze mode so often, but working with Reiki, with sound, spending more time in nature, all brings it back down. And then you're like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like when I'm not always feeling like I have to run from a saber-toothed tiger. Like many, many generations ago, the fight or flight was needed, but now we're feeling it all the time. We've got the traffic and the stress and so many stressors and pulling on our attention. And we don't think about it. We don't stop to look at all things that are pulling on our attention and our energy. So Reiki is a way to bring it back home, bring it back to your heart and soul, and check in with you as a person. How are you doing? Not the knee jerk, I'm great, how are you? But now, I'm feeling a little off today. Or like you said, disconnected. I have women who say something is missing. They wake up and like, I put a check in all the boxes. I've got the college degree, I've got the amazing job, I got the promotion, white picket fence, and no judgment around any of this. Whatever your path is, they're just like, I've achieved everything I set out to achieve and I feel empty, or they're lacking that sense of fulfillment. So they're seeking that clarity and that purpose. Like, why am I here? What am I meant to do?
So is Reiki more of a practice of being able to turn off all the noise and come back to your true self?
Yes, that is a great summation of it. And after I took Reiki 1, there was a 21-day practice where we would scan ourselves, check in with ourselves in the morning and at night, and go through the 5 principles. And it was just very magical. The first 2 weeks I was great, but that third week is when you start to either fall off or it like clicks and there was a little bit of resistance. Life got busy and it's not long. It's like 5-10 minute scan, 5-10 minute scan. It's not taking hours upon hours to do. And getting regular sessions, depending on what you're working through. Once a month might be enough. Once a week might be needed. And it can ebb and flow. I had a woman, she was going in for a medical procedure and she reached out to me the night before and she was like, do you have time to squeeze me in for a session? I want to go in really relaxed. I want this to work. And we had a beautiful session. She slept great and the procedure went really well. And it took, she said, 10 times better than the last time she had the same procedure. Her body was in a more relaxed state. She was well rested and she took that opportunity to take care of herself. And now she's recovering.
So if someone is interested in doing Reiki, do you have to do so many sessions first to fine tune your body and then you can do maintenance type stuff? Or how does that work?
It's like a doctor and a patient. Every patient's different. I always like to start out at least with one session. You know, that's our chance to connect energetically, see how you like it, see if we're a good match. And then from there, we talk about at the end, how did you like that? How often would you like to be seen? How much support do you need? And it will vary. So I've had people come to me with worthiness, you know, self-worth. That might take a little longer depending on how deep those roots are. But peeling back those layers, releasing wherever that root cause is in the body, in the mind, in the spirit. Imposter syndrome, I mentioned inner child wounds. Those come up a lot. You know, women wanting to use their voice and step into their power, like a lot of throat chakra blocks come up. So depending on how far back and how long they've been experiencing it, that kind of plays into how often we meet.
Can you share a story of a patient of yours or a client of yours that came in and had that disconnect and just came to you as a last resort? I just don't know what's wrong with me. I'm fed up with life. And at the end found that they were able to reconnect.
Yes. I had a woman and she just received a promotion. She thought she would be over the moon and she felt less than empty, like the opposite of what she had pictured she would feel when she hit this like amazing stepping stone in her career. Great life, great significant other, kids, house, like great car, all the things. And she's like, I'm empty. And I shouldn't, like her guilt and shame was at an all-time high. So we did a combination Reiki sound session. I was like, let's just go in for a general healing. Let's give you space and grace to work through this. Like, feel free to turn your mind off, just kind of go into your body. And I was playing different bowls. I was drawn a lot to the root chakra, the I am. So we were working with identity, heart chakra, but more so for self-love and self-compassion, not necessarily love for others, but loving herself, and the throat chakra. Those were the 3 bowls that I kept going back to the most throughout the session. And when we got to the end and she came back to her body, she had this big smile on her face. The tears were still flowing, but she was like, that is exactly what I needed. I have more guidance and clarity. So she received messages that she needed. I was like, okay, what are you going to do to celebrate? And it was raining. We had a big thunderstorm here and where she was as well. So I'm going to go dance in the rain. I'm going to go dance in the rain. I am so happy. So she reconnected with like one of her inner ones. And she's like, I used to love dancing. I want to play. And she hadn't been doing fun things. There was no play or fun for herself anywhere. So that was one of the other messages that dropped in, like, have more fun. You might need to be here for a little bit before you can do what you want to do, but you can still have fun along the way.
So is that like just that one session and all of a sudden she's just felt lifted?
Yes. Yeah. She reached out to me another 2 or 3 weeks later, wanted to schedule another session. So we've been seeing each other once a month. I have another client who wants to see me weekly. So we're seeing each other weekly. So I like to meet the people where they are with where they feel they need. And then I feel we're making progress and maybe they've healed that issue, that they might come with another one or they might need a break. You know, they say that the teacher appears when the student is ready. I feel like the Reiki healer appears when the person is ready for it as well. Like, I'm not here to convince anyone, but if it's been showing up in your radar and you've been hearing about Reiki or sound healing multiple times, I'd say try it. What have you got to lose?
Exactly. What are the common misconceptions about Reiki that you'd like to address?
Excellent question. So the number one thing that I hear is Reiki is a religion, and it's not. Reiki has no affiliation with any deity or any religious construct out there. It is spiritual. So it is not connected to any belief system. It is neither negative or positive. It is universal life force. So whether you're a teacher, whether you've had a certification or even a session, we all have access to Reiki within us, maybe 25 or 30%. And going to one of these certifications, whether it be virtual or in person, you receive an attunement. So your channel gets wider and wider. But if you ever think about, you ever scrape your knee or fall off your bike or you bump your head and you immediately put your hands on it, or your mom comes over and kisses it, that's in essence Reiki. Or if you drive by and you see an accident, they're okay. You're sending them Reiki, positive vibes, good energy. And that is the number one thing that I hear is that it's a religion. So it's not, and it's a great complement to religion. It's not evil. It's not against any belief system. It's not against any medical practices. It in and of itself is just there. And you can tap into it whenever you need it or want it, either by yourself or with a practitioner.
So it's kind of like if your friend knows that you've gone through something and they'll say either by text or if they're right next to you, they'll say, let me hug you, because they want to give you their compassionate feeling to help you get over whatever it is that you're going through.
Yes. It's a great example. Holding space, that compassion, not the pity, not the, oh, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to hold space. You tell me what you need, and just being there.
So you talked about Reiki and sound healing. Which one's better?
Both. They're great complements. They're great standalones. Some people are more open to the sound healing, I find, because they can feel it, they can hear it, they can touch the instruments. Some people like to come up and play them with me either before or after. And that might be a good starting point. And a lot of times I set up crystal grids and I'm sending Reiki during my sound baths and sound healings, and it will only go to those who are open to it. So I'm not forcing anything. And, I have some girlfriends and I'm like, I'm going to send a ball of Reiki energy to you. You can tap in. It'll be above you whenever you need it. Same thing in a sound healing session. So I do them virtually, and sometimes I'll have people message in the chat if they want it. So I can send it to specific people, or if they want to send me a message about something specific they're working on. But I have done a few in person as well. And we usually pull cards, and I have people put it at their feet if they don't want Reiki and they're just there for the sound, or at their head if they want both Reiki and sound. So energy, and Reiki energy specifically, is very permission based. So your higher self would block the energy if you didn't need it or want it, which is really, I think is pretty awesome.
So basically what you're saying is when you say that someone needs to be open to it. So let's say I hired you to do a Reiki session with me. So in my heart, I believe that the session between Kiki and I is going to help me overcome this obstacle, as opposed to I'm going to hire Kiki, but I know that this stuff doesn't really work.
Exactly. Yes. I had a woman come to one of my sound baths and she was very skeptical about Reiki. She was trying to decide where to put her card and if she wanted it. She shared a similar situation. She went to a practitioner. She didn't feel anything. She didn't feel like she got what she wanted out of it. And the responsibility is really on the client. Where do you want it? Do you want it? Are you open to it? And are you ready for it? So I put it on her very gently and said, what would you like out of Reiki tonight? Do you want to rest and relax? Are you looking for pain relief? What do you need? And do you just want the sound healing or do you want both? So she wanted both. Went around the room as I was hovering and laying hands on different people. I was drawn to her, spent a little extra time, like her shoulder and her knee hurt. Get to the end and have share time, totally optional. And she was floored. She was like, oh my God, how did you know it was my shoulder? And I just had a knee issue and that was amazing. And I could feel the pain leaving my body. So if you're open to it, it will work. If you go in and you're skeptical, you're already blocking the energy from flowing to you.
So help me understand this, if I understood this correctly. So could it have been that the pain that you had in your back when you were first exposed to Reiki and sound healing, and this woman that she had pain in her shoulder and pain in her knee, could it have been that maybe wasn't necessarily an injury or induced by the body saying you overdid this or that? And maybe it was more of inner peace, that there was no inner peace. There was something more spiritually that was causing pain in those certain parts of people's body, yours and hers.
100%. That is your body really trying to scream for attention. Like something's missing. It's getting your attention in any way possible. I also believe that we have trapped emotions and trauma. I don't get into the levels because I don't feel that but you could stub your toe and that's trauma. You know, you could have verbally abusive relationship. That's trauma. Reiki and sound healing don't care what level or where it came from. They just want to release it and help you get it out of your body and out of your tissues. And yeah, the low back pain, I had been experiencing a lot throughout all the grief. So that's where I was holding it. Low back pain, particularly on the left side, is also like worry about finances. There's a book, Heal Your Body. And it's not meant to be read cover to cover, but it's more you have a pain in your body or a certain area of your body. What is that trying to tell you? What could it be attached to? So I also reference that in talking with clients. Where are you feeling this? Let's see if any of this resonates. And I share it, and it's up to them if they want to share what they're connecting of their dots or if they want to keep it personal. So, and anything shared with me stays in our sessions, and I don't discuss people's names in the future. Very similar to therapists.
So tell me, you as the healer, what do you experience after a Reiki session?
Afterwards, I'm usually really thirsty. And I get Reiki sessions for myself, one for every 10 sessions that I give to make sure my cup is full and I'm coming from a good place. And I get a little bit of Reiki as the energy is flowing through me as well. So I kind of get a little top off. So I usually sleep really well. I do grounding exercises. I get my feet outside in the grass, Epsom salt baths, and just really focus on staying hydrated the next day or so. And it's the same advice I give the client. Because even though it didn't feel like you did anything, or if you fell asleep for that hour, energetically, there were a lot of shifts that happened. So you could feel like you worked out for 3 hours. You're that tired because energetically you were doing a lot of release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I can imagine being a Reiki master as yourself. It's kind of like being a mom where you're just taking care of everybody else, but you need to also take care of yourself as well.
Yes. And I will say in the beginning, when I started offering sessions, I was not as diligent about getting them for myself. And I did hit that wall, and I won't even say burnt out, but just really energetically exhausted. It was hard for me to hold that space. And then as soon as I got that session, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to not take care of myself. This is what good feels like. This is kind of where I want to be on a regular basis.
So how long is a typical Reiki session?
So I have clients book an hour, and I'm usually sending for about 40, 45 minutes. And that leaves a little bit of talk at the beginning and then share time at the end. And then for those that like the combination, they like to book 90 minutes. So they get the Reiki, and then I transition, and it's usually 20 to 30 minutes of sound healing at the end.
And you are a virtual healer. Is that correct?
Yes. Right now and throughout the pandemic, I have assisted clients 100% virtual. I've done a few sound baths in person recently, but yes, I am connected to women all over the globe, and it's awesome.
But let's just add here, whether it's virtual or in person, the benefit is still the same?
Correct. 100%. Yes. It crosses time and distance. I know you had asked about what a session looks like, and some I would get on Zoom. But there are women that we can't make our schedules work, but they know they need it. So I can send it into the future at a time that worked for them, but maybe I had another client, and it will arrive when they need it to. And I have also sent it to myself in the past when I knew I needed it. And it's very much like that movie Inception, where you're like, wow. And I remember being in certain stages where I felt better and I didn't know why. And it's because my future self was sending Reiki back in time.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
Yes. Quantum healing is a lot of fun.
And you practice different types of Reikis?
Yes. So Usui is the traditional, the relaxation originated in Japan. I mentioned Celtic Reiki taps into nature and the power of the trees. I also practice Dragon Reiki, where I call in the power of the dragons. So if I have a client who's really, we've been working on something for a long time, and we've released what we can, and it's just really tough and stubborn, a lot of times I'll call in the dragons, and we can just burn it down, get to the root of it, and release it for good. And that's where that dragon energy comes in. And another one that I practice is called Huna Reiki, Huna, for like big island love. So think of Hawaii, and just that island, everybody is so gracious and warm and welcoming, and you're just enveloped in this happiness and this island vibe. And it's very relaxing. And each one has like different music, and try to give it a different feel. So,
And so how can people get in touch with you?
Yes. Email, website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And I offer 30-minute consultations if you want to chat. Make sure we're a good match. Have any questions you want answered before diving in. So I hop on Zoom so you can see me and we can talk and soul to soul connect. I'm sure it's a good fit.
Well, I will say that every time I talk with you, because this is the second time we've chatted, there's just so much positive energy that I get from you. There's just so much calmness and positive.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Good.
I don't know if the listeners or the viewers can feel your positive energy that I'm feeling right now, but there's just a certain peace that I get from you.
Well, thank you.
So what advice would you give somebody out there who is tried everything and is feeling a little like they've kind of hit the wall and they don't know where to go next?
I would say I understand that feeling, because I was there, especially with the grief and the pain. And it's not one we talk about enough or are taught how to process. And grief can be anything. It doesn't have to be a loss of life. It could be the kids leaving and going to school, and now you're an empty nester. It could be a divorce. It could be the loss of a job. There are so many different versions of grief. But space and grace and giving yourself time, as I was always in a rush. I have to fix this. I want to feel better now. And just kind of taking that break and being easy on myself is what really helped. I don't know about you, but I'm my own worst critic and tend to be the hardest on myself. Like, I should be able to figure this out. I can't believe I haven't figured this out. Right. And then we start that spiral, which isn't productive and isn't getting us to where we want to be, which is that good feeling place. And surrounding yourself with like-minded women, whether that's women who are in the exact same spot and are feeling the same way. And we're more alike than we are different. And I don't think we realize it enough. And one of the things that I've learned in just this virtual or digital community is just having more of those heartfelt conversations. And it can be scary initiating conversation with strangers, but I have some best friends now that I didn't know 2 or 3 years ago. And we check on each other. We're accountability buddies. And you might have that friend where you go to and you tell her where you're feeling and it's not great. and they might want to sit in it and kind of talk about it too much. And that's not a bad thing. But I found that I've shifted to friends that are like, okay, here's where you are. Here's where you want to be. What's the plan? How can we get you there? And just brainstorming, or even just giving you a different outlook. Because I found that I was too close emotionally to what I was going through. So I knew that my emotions were blocking a lot of the solutions. So having other people, have you tried this? What about this? And I mean, that's how I even was invited to this wellness retreat and got introduced to Reiki and sound. So being open to try new things that maybe you were skeptical about might not be the worst thing.
And Reiki is a form of self-care. It's not being selfish, it's self-care.
100%. Absolutely.
It's sharpening your blade, as I always say.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, sharpening your blade, because you certainly can't cut with a dull blade.
No, it's very messy.
I will make sure to include all your information, your links, your social, everything. You guys, you need to be sharpened by Kiki. Like I said, I feel so much power just talking to her. There's a sense of peace, calmness. I feel great. And
good.
I hope you guys can feel it too. But I will include all of your information on my show notes. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was a delightful conversation. It's been my honor.
Yes, it was. All right, lovely trailblazers. Wasn't that journey into the heart of Reiki and sound healing absolutely illuminating? From the captive tales of Reiki's rich history of the serendipitous moment Kiki discovered its magic at a wellness retreat, we've covered it all. And if you've been feeling that inner tug, that whispering voice nudging you toward exploring these healing modalities for yourself, now's your golden chance. Kiki, the virtual Reiki master and sound maestro herself, is offering an absolutely irresistible offer. Imagine this, 3 whole hours of immersive session tailored to your likings. Be it pure Reiki, a harmonic blend of Reiki and sound healing, or any mix that sings to your soul. All this transformative energy just for you for $333. But that's not all. Do you ever find yourself feeling a bit out of tune? Kiki's Chakra Power Sound Baths might just be a quick fix you're looking for. Not only will you get 7 unique crafted chakra sound baths with empowering affirmations, but there's also a special bonus, guided meditations designed to realign not just your chakra, but your very life. And you can snag this powerful bundle for just $17. Friends, it isn't just an offer. It's an invitation to transform, to harmonize, and to truly tune into the best version of yourself. If there's ever was a moment to take a leap of faith to explore the magic of Reiki and sound healing, this is it. Kiki's information and today's transcript can be found at createthebestme.com/EP038. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe to stay updated. And next week, we're going on another profound journey. Dive deep into the topic of finding meaning and purpose. It's going to be an enlightening, transformative, and every bit amazing as you'd expect it to be. So be sure not to miss. Until then, keep dreaming big, take care of yourself, and remember, you are beautiful, strong, and capable of creating the best version of yourself. Thank you for watching. Catch you next week. Bye for now.